in case you were wondering, trying to sit on your knees but having your legs splayed out like this is a really bad idea. Hello friends, happy Saturday. Finally back from Orange City after, 3.5 hour drive, which is pretty bearable. It's just feels long when you're by yourself. I listened to a pretty new podcast. It has 3 episodes out so far, made by some pretty talented guys who are involved with some of the YouTube channels that I've been following for several years. And they are 2 libertarians talking about what would happen if libertarians actually were successful in getting their agendas through in our country. It's very interesting. I don't agree with a lot of the things that they think, but that's one way that I'm trying to expand my thinking, is by understanding how other people think. So I'm going to put the link to that website that has the first 3 episodes that are up so far in the description of this video. In one of the episodes, Josh and Kevin, the hosts of the podcast, which is called Who Would Build the Roads, talk about a quiz that they took that is put out to determine your exact political leaning. So it's not just like conservative, liberal, middle of the road, whatever. It's like specific terms that have been defined over the years to describe different schools of thought politically and socially. And I took it when one of them shared it on social media several weeks ago. I don't remember what I got, and I'm not sure whether I took it as honestly as I could have. I think a lot of it was like me wondering what would happen if I answered a question a certain way, so I do want to take it again. But I'm going to leave the link to that as well, because I think it would be really interesting for people to figure out where they land in terms of that quiz. Obviously, it is biased because, as Josh and Kevin pointed out, they are guessing it might be put out by someone who is either libertarian or not one of the 2 primary political leanings that have power in this country. With that in mind, it is biased, and so that is something to keep in mind when you look at your results, that some of the questions that you had to answer may not have been quite as neutral as they could have been. But even with that taken into account, I think it's a really interesting and more in-depth look at where you might stand. I will warn you that it is kind of a long quiz. I think it might be close to 100 questions. So take a little bit more time out when you take this quiz. Maybe it'll help you understand better why you believe certain things. Don't just assume that because you vote a certain way, you happen to be specifically that political leaning. It might be something where you lean a little more left or right than a lot of other people who vote the same way you do. Just something to think about. So, yeah, I will bring you an update to this after I have taken the quiz again, just to talk a little bit more about what I've learned, especially because after a conversation with Michael today about some viewpoints that we either share or understand about each other, I think it'll be interesting to talk about that. So, see you tomorrow.